Again, as I'm using training, not root, in this case I have to say sudo and then paste this command, which will install Tiger Vnc server for us. It is a small software, and it hardly have few packages, and hence the download, installation, and starting of the service will not take very long time. The installation of Vnc server is done. Once the installation is done, we have to copy this file, which will be created as part of the setting up. Okay, so I can actually take this and say cp. Again, we have to use sudo cp, paste that path, and then etc systemd system. Okay, and then you have to use Vnc server @1.service. Okay, so this is very important. For each user, you have to give a unique ID. Sometimes a user might have multiple desktops on this machine, and hence for each session you need to have a unique ID here, and this has to be added to 5900. 5900 is the base number from which the port for Vnc server will be created. By saying 1, it is nothing but 5900 plus 1, and hence whenever we complete the setup process for Vnc server for a given user, it will start with port number 5901. If I say 100, it will be 6000. If I say 110, it will be 6010. So whatever number we give, it will be added to 5900 by default. If you want, you can customize those things, but by default it will be added to 5900. And you can hit enter. Now the file is created. You have to open this file. Okay, see here, the file is opened as read only because the file is copied as sudo, and hence to edit this we again have to open this with sudo, because we are not using root user in this case. And if you scroll down, if you go to the end by hitting capital G in escape mode, as we are using VA editor, you can see there is a placeholder which can be replaced with the OS user for which we are trying to set up the process, and it is there at multiple places. So we have to replace this. So in VA editor, you can use %s, okay, and then user, and our user in this case is training. So I am replacing this placeholder with training, and then /g. So wherever that user is there, it will be replaced with training, and then you can save it and come out of it. Once that is done, you can run this command called system daemon reload. Also, in my case, I have demonstrated using VA editor. You can also use sed and replace that user with whatever user you want to replace with. Okay, and then it will be updated in the file in place, and hence the user in the file will be replaced with training. So you can also run this command directly, but again, as we are not using root, in this case you have to run it using sudo. Once that is done, you can run this systemctl daemon reload. Again, use sudo here, so it will actually reload all the daemons, and you have to enable this. The reason why you have to enable this is, so whenever the system is restarted, the service has to be started on the port number 5901. For each and every user in this for whom we will be setting up remote desktop, we have to follow these steps. First, replace the placeholder user in the copied file in this, and the file name has to be unique for each session, for each user who want to use remote desktop. When I say for each session, a user might have multiple remote desktops to this machine. So for each remote desktop for a user, we need to create a file, unique file, and we have to replace with the appropriate user, and then you have to reload by using systemctl, you have to enable the service which is named after the um, file here. Okay, and it will actually start it whenever we restart the machine automatically. Otherwise, we have to start manually. Once this is done, you have to open the appropriate port in the firewall. Okay, again you have to use sudo here. You can see here I am opening port number 5901. The reason why I am opening port number 5901 is because the service which I am trying to enable on this server, so that outsiders can actually access the remote desktop using this port number, I have to add this one to the default base number, which is 5900, and you can see here I am opening with 5901. Unless you open this port with firewall, outsiders will not be able to connect to the service that is running on this machine, even though it is up and running without any issues. Firewall is primarily to avoid unintentional traffic or unintended traffic onto our machine. Okay, so you need to open this as part of your firewall. Once you open this, you have to reload firewall. Now you have to log in as training, which we already done as training, because in this case we are running as training itself. We don't need to use sudo. Okay, and hit enter. Before running Vnc server, let me run this command called ls-altr. It will show all the files that are available. Okay, and now if I say Vnc server and hit enter, it will prompt you for the password. You can give the password. So the system admins can set the password, or even the users who want to access this remote desktop, once system admins set up the remote desktop for the user, they can enable password like this, and they should be able to log in to the remote desktop. Now you can see that under home training, which is my home directory, there is a new directory called .vnc. You can also check ls-altr output. It has created multiple directories and files because we have started the Vnc server, and we want user to connect via remote desktop, and hence a lot of directories and files are created here. One of the directories is .vnc. You can see here, and you can actually see the colon1.pid, colon1.log, because we are using one as the port, and when it is running, it will be added to the base number 5900 by default, and it will actually launch on 5901 in this case. For each instance of Vnc server, for user to connect via remote desktop, you will see a file like this. Okay, the server name, colon, the port, the incremental port number .pid, and server name dot colon, server name colon incremental port number .log. Okay, now we are ready to actually launch the remote desktop and connect to this server via remote desktop. But before that, we just want to reload all the daemons. So once again, I have to say sudo systemctl daemon reload, and then sudo system ctl restart. It will restart. Sorry, restart, and I have to give the service name also. It will restart the service, and now it will be registered with the user training. So the user training will be able to connect to remote desktop that is running on this machine through port number 5901 by entering the password which is set by running Vnc server command earlier. Now to validate this, we need to have Vnc Client. I already have that. It is called as Vnc Viewer. You can also set it up. The way you can set it up is by saying Vnc Viewer It's pretty straightforward. You go here and download Vnc Viewer, and you should be able to go forward. Okay. Now using this Vnc Viewer, I have to create a new connection, file new connection, and we have to give the Vnc server name. The Vnc server name is nothing but this one. We can also give IP address, or we can actually give the public DNS. Okay, so we can give that, and we have to give the port number here, 5901. You can give a friendly name for this. So training@rnd.itversity.com, and then go to options, and you can actually work on this picture quality and also scaling. Let us leave it to automatic, and then okay. And now I can double click on this. You can choose this so that it doesn't show this warning every time, and we can actually give the password. Okay, I think I have given wrong password. Yeah, now you can see that you logged into this remote machine, and you are able to access the desktop. So when you look at this desktop, automatically it has taken to the default browser. You can close this, and you can go on to the desktop. Okay, you can go to applications, go to terminal, or open Firefox, and you should be able to access internet and all those things on this machine. The terminal is not coming up. Most likely it will be resolved if I restart this machine. So let me restart once again. And once it is restarted, most likely I will be able to access terminal and all those things. So the reason why we have set up remote desktop is, in future when we actually try to learn DevOps tools, sometimes we might want to do it through browser or some other graphical user interface component, and hence having this remote desktop can help sometimes. Okay, but it is not a showstopper. Even without remote desktop, you can actually set up most of the DevOps tools and technologies, but it is nice to have. So make sure you have this. That being said, you can see that even though my hostname is rnd.itversity.com, I am logging in using a DNS entry provided by OVH, which is not very straightforward to remember. I want to access this server as this. So itversity.com is my domain, and it is configured with AWS. So if you also have your domain with AWS, and if you want to have a subdomain with rnd.itversity.com, the way I have, you can actually go to aws.com and go to the web console, AWS web console, go to services and search for route 53 or route 53. Once you open this route 53, if you are running your website through AWS, you can actually click on the domain name, and you can create a subdomain. So let me create a subdomain rnd.itversity.com, and we have to give the IP address here. The IP address for this machine is nothing but this one. You should not use the public DNS of OVH, it will not work. You have to give the actual public IP address. Okay, it has to be public IP address. Only when you are able to connect to the remote machine using the public IP, you will be able to use that information. Otherwise, it will not work. And then you can say create. Now you can see rnd.itversity.com here. Okay, it might take some time to reflect that. If it is working, when you say ping rnd.itversity.com, it will actually use the IP address which we have assigned to it, and we should be able to log in. The server is not yet up and running, and hence we have to wait for some more time, and then going forward I can use rnd.itversity.com itself to log in. Now it is back up and running. Going forward, I can do SSH training at rnd.itversity.com and enter the password for user training. I'm able to log in through console. Now let me also open through the Vnc Viewer. And let me see if I'm able to launch the terminal in this case. So it should launch the terminal. I don't know why it is not launching. Anyway, for now it is not showstopper. We are able to access this remote desktop. It could be that training might not have certain permissions on terminal for now. As we are able to connect to terminal through command line, we are good to go. We will see if I figure out the root cause of the issue, and if I come up with the solution, I will explain that. For now, we can move forward.